So, Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha and Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and to my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is another beautiful day with at the moment is 26 degrees at our center. Yeah? So it's 26 degrees. Hardly you will get, in the summer. As this is once in a year. Probably will get such a beautiful weather once in a year. And this afternoon I had a visit to. I visited one of the cliffs nearby. So it's nearby. It's called Newton Hill. And I never been there before, and it was beautiful, perfectly beautiful, and the weather was so good, and still you can feel this warmness and so good. But life is uncertain, so does the weather, and it's been day 25th, so the 4th days already. 4 days already that we are moving into the darkness. Day by day darkness will increase and we'll go on with that darkness one after another, one day after another. So it was a wonderful day out for about 3 hours, walking along this cliff and looking at this beautiful ocean and puffins and the beautiful so-called ground orchids. So it's really lovely, and seeing people wandering around, enjoying this weather, and the emotions also changes along with this weather too. When the weather is good, emotion becomes so blossoms, so energetic and so enjoying, and in the meantime when the weather is not good, we simply feel so down and not well. So that's why it's very important to know these feelings and these emotions. And however, sometimes again you never know what is coming around. One moment it is good and another moment it is not. One moment your friend is good, another moment your friend is not. And one moment your partner is happy, another moment somehow unhappy, and causing so many other troubles too. So everything is uncertain, and in our life as well. Our life is very uncertain. One day I am okay, another day I am not. One day we are healthy, another day we are not, despite of we are following same routines and same things. So it's very uncertain, and yet we have to learn to live with this uncertain and finding a comfortable and a happy life. So that's why this is a life that we have to learn to live with this uncertainty. Sometimes we may not do any wrong, but somehow a wrong thing will turn to you. That's why we need the blessings. That's why we need to be ready to face with these different situations, different mentalities of the people. And it is not just from the people. Could be from the weather, from other environments as well, like the pandemic. It's coming from invisible insect or a virus that we do not know, and we are fighting with it, and the whole world is fighting with this unseen, invisible, deadly virus. So it's very uncertain life. So today is a Thursday, the 25th. June, and it's already towards the darkness. In our center again, we are still 4 of us, and we wanted to have the monk's ordination ceremony, but we couldn't have it because of this lockdown is still not eased, and there's so many things we want to do and we cannot do, and we're still uncertain time, and it sounds like very negative and very depressing and very stressed moment when we look at these things. But however, there are so many good things happened in life, and as well as so many good things happened with this pandemic. First, most of the people have discovered themselves that who they really are and what they really want to be, and then also they have found their own new skills to deal with this pandemic, and as well as new careers have found too. And then most importantly, this pandemic is also teaching that most important things in the world is our own self and our own family. No one else. Doesn't matter how close we are with someone, we are the one. That's why the first guidelines is given is to quarantine yourself or keep yourself away from anybody in order to get well. And that is also a form of not only protecting yourself but also protecting others. And whenever you are touching some things, whenever you are going anywhere, somewhere, and always be conscious and take care of yourself. So that is what we have learned throughout this time of the pandemic. In relation to our regular talk, this whole 1 week, I was talking on the 5 hindrances and introducing these 5 hindrances. How does it work in our life, and as well as in our practice of a meditation, and how it hinders and how it obstructs our development. And the last one yesterday I spoke on the doubt. So in relation to that, I would like to tell you a story from the Buddha before he closed the last summon, and that was the last speech spoken by the Buddha. So the story was that Buddha was born, and he was enlightened at the age of 35, and after he became enlightened, he went on teaching for 45 years, and at the age of 80, he was about to we call it parinibbana, and the English translation is death, and which is not a death so per se. It is like extinction or extinguishing a fire that continues the lifespan in the samsara. It's called parinibbana. So before his parinibbana, there was a man who came. His name was Subhadda, was ascetic, following other faith, and he came up to the Buddha and asked his doubts that, Venerable Sir, what is the right thing? People are calling themselves to be liberated. How do I know that who is then liberated or not? Something like that. And the Buddha simply said that rather than investigating what it is, what is not, and this is not time for the explanation. And then he summarized saying that one who has got the faith and confidence and practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path, there will be a noble person. And after that, Buddha gave this very beautiful word and a sentence, or asked the venerable monks that now this is my last, is there anyone who has got the doubt on any teachings or any practices that Buddha had taught? So basically he was saying, throughout this time of my teaching dispensation, if any of you has got any doubts on the teachings or on the practice, just ask now. and probably different reasons, no one asked to the Buddha. So no one asked, maybe because of out of respect, or maybe because everyone was so sad that Buddha is going to depart, or everyone was enlightened. So anyway, nobody asked the question, or nobody asked any opinions in relation to the teachings or the practice, and the commentaries presumes that the monks that present at that moment, everyone had understood and became an enlightened. And after that, Buddha spoke the very last word, and that word was appamadena sampadetha. So live life heedlessly. Basically, live life mindfully. All the conditioned dhammas, all the conditioned phenomena arising are subject to end. So that's why just live a life heedlessly. So that's why in relation to the doubt, we do have to have a doubt, but we have to have a right doubt. That is meaning that having a question of the techniques, not rather than questioning of this is right or wrong. Okay, so in the meantime, and this afternoon, I was just trying to find what else I can relate to these hindrances. And last month I posted on the Facebook thinking that that wishing to buy these books, and some of you have sponsored and sent these books, and I was reading. And then in this book there is a chapter. This is Anguttara Nikaya, known as the numerical discourses of the Buddha. So this is very thick one. And in this Anguttara Nikaya, let me give you a background of it. The Tipitaka is the Buddhist scripture, particularly Theravada Buddhist scripture, and this Tipitaka was compiled after Buddha passed away or entered the Parinibbana 3 months later. And it wasn't written at that time, but it was recited, and it was transmitted through like a chanting. It's called the oral transmission. And later, about 300 years later, Buddha's Parinibbana, it was written for the first time, and that's how it's been written and then carry on. And through the councils, organizing the councils, they have tried, all the Buddhist councils tried as authentic as it possible according to the Buddha. And among these Tipitaka, there are the three, means the three, Pitaka means the baskets. So these three Pitakas the Tipitaka divides into 3 baskets, and within these 3 baskets, the number one is the Vinaya, which is the disciplines. And this is not just the disciplines, but also it speaks about the contemporary traditions and culture, and then lifestyles and business and politics and those things at the time of the Buddha. So basically Indian history at the time of the Buddha, and how many religious people were there, and how do they practice, and how the people were living like that. And that is the first chapter. And then the second basket is known as the Sutta Pitaka, or the discourses, which again normally monks will refer to the teachings of the Buddha. And this Sutta Pitaka again divided into 5 big volumes. And these 5 big volumes, also known as agamas, and which is the most referent one. Monks and scholars will use it as a reference. These 5 books. The third book is known as the Abhidhamma Pitaka, which is the basket that compiled most of the higher teachings or complex. It's not related to any particular person, but the phenomena. It's not talking about this man or that man or that woman, but it is talking about the phenomena of this person. It's known as, also English translation is known as the Buddhist psychology. So this particular book is from the Sutta Pitaka, the second basket, and among the 5 baskets, this is the 4th one. It's called Anguttara Nikaya. And this Anguttara Nikaya basically numerical, means this increases according to the numbers of the teachings. And in this I found one discourse which is known as abandoning the hindrances. So I thought that in relation to the teachings, or in relation to the talks that I have been giving for about a week now on the hindrances, I thought I will read it here, and we'll see what the Buddha said about and how to overcome the hindrances. It says, "Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing on account of which an arising sensual desire arises, and arising sensual desire increases and expands so much as the mark of the attractive." Yeah. So sensual desire, or the kama chanda, is the first hindrance that hinder our practice. And the Buddha is saying that when we have when we are unwise, when we are putting unwise attention, an arising sensual desire will arise, and then the sensual desire that has been already arisen will be increase and expand, and that's simply because the mark of the attractiveness. So simply, when our eyes sees a beautiful, or and ears hear the beautiful sound, and the taste, good taste and things, basically attractiveness in a way that 5 senses will be attracted, and as a result these will, which is not arisen, will arise, and which is already arisen will increase, and which already increased it will expand more and more. So for one who attains carelessly to the mark of the attractiveness, an unarisen sensual desire arises, and sensual desire increases and expands. So basically it's like who attends carelessly. So when we are living, when we are doing without mindfulness, then these things will increase. And that's similar to the ill will, or the vyapada. So it says, "Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other things on accounts of which an arisen ill will arises, and arising ill will increases and expands so much as the mark of the repulsiveness." Yeah. So here again, when we see things that is we don't like, something that is repulsiveness, hate generates, and with that, because of we are not mindful of that very moment when it arises, because of this carelessness, it will increase, and then it will expand, and as it expands, it will be staying in our hearts and minds. And that same with the drowsiness and dullness, or the sloth and torpor. Simply saying that the Buddha is saying that I do not see even one other thing on account of which an arisen dullness and drowsiness arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness increase and expands so much as discontent, lethargy, lazy, stretching, drowsiness after meal, and sluggishness of the mind. So that is also simply saying that these drowsiness and sluggish mind, or laziness, arises simply because of unmindfully living. And that's restlessness and remorse also, the same, that when we are not living mindfully, these will increase. And that's again doubt as well. So it's careless attention. When we are careless about the things, then that doubt also increase, and an arisen doubt will arises, and it expands. The further Buddha said how we can deal with that. The Buddha said that I do not see even one thing one other thing on account of which unarising sensual desire does not arise, and arising sensual desire is abandoned, so much as the mark of unattractive. Yeah. So basically, when we are careful and when we are mindful of anything that comes to contact with our senses, rather than we are grasping or generating or proliferating on the subject that comes to contact, we simply will accept it, let it be. And with this, from this dragging us into the conversation, or dragging us into the holding on to it, it will stop there. And that is the ways to abandon the sensual desire. So he says, the Buddha says that for one who attends carefully to the marks of unattractiveness, unarisen sensual desire does not arise, and arisen sensual desire is abandoned. So basically, when we are wise and carefully attending on the things that comes to contact with us, then that will be abandoned. That is. And the second, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen ill will does not arise, and arisen ill will is abandoned, so much as the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. So the ill will or hate or the anger, basically the antidote for it is to practice loving kindness meditation. And loving kindness meditation is practiced, first we are practicing towards own self and then to others. And once we have practiced this loving kindness properly, then all the hatred and ill will be abandoned. And says, for one who attains carefully to the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, unarisen ill will does not arise, and arising ill will is abandoned. So if we are practicing loving kindness, there will be no hatred arises, or no anger arises. And if any hatred or anger we have in our minds and our heart, that will be abandoned. The next, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen dullness and drowsiness do not arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness are abandoned, so much as the element of investigation, the element of persistent, the element of exhaustion. Yeah. So here, dullness and drowsiness is a sloth and a torpor. That if we are having this investigative mind, basically investigating and persistently doing, having a use the confidence, developing the faith and the confidence and believing on the methods, and with that you're energized to pay attention to the object so much as that helping us to be energized and awakened all the time. So for one who has aroused energy, unarisen dullness and drowsiness do not arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness are abandoned. So basically we energizing ourselves from inside to make a balance, and with that we will be able to overcome this dullness or this sloth and torpor. Because I do not see even one thing on account of which unarisen restlessness and remorse do not arise, and arisen restlessness and remorse are abandoned, so much as pacification of the mind. For one with a pacified mind, unarisen restlessness and remorse do not arise, and arisen restlessness and remorse are abandoned. Yeah. So again, this I have said that when we are able to content on the things, and when we are able to develop the confidence and the faith, the restlessness will go, and the remorse will not be there. There is no repent on that. And the last one is, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen doubt does not arise, and arising doubt is abandoned so much as careful attention. For one who attends carefully, unreasoned doubts do not arise, and unreasoned doubts will be abandoned. Yeah? So this is what Buddha said in this discourse about how to overcome the hindrances. And these things basically, as we practice gradually, we will be able to see. But in summary, what I would like to say is that the hindrances we can overcome by having an object to pay attention to, or basically having meditative object, and we are attentively paying attention to on the object, and once our mind settled down, grounded itself and grounded with the object and become a one-pointedness, that moment all the hindrances will be subsided or just suppressed. And that's the first way of dealing with that. And the second way is basically knowing as they truly are, the way it is when it arises in our mind. Suppose sensual desire arises, we know it has arisen, and then we recognize the mental state of that. And with that, we are, rather than suppressing, rather than engaging, rather than grasping, we simply uprooting from the root level of it. And that's why it is the practice in the four foundations of mindfulness in the phenomena. So, and gradually we will be freeing ourselves from these five hindrances. And once we have freed these five hindrances, basically we will be able to attain at least of the third noblehood, and finally will be able to develop into the noble eightfold path and will be liberated. So this is for tonight in relation to the hindrances from the ongoing talk on 1 week. So this is the end of the hindrances, and I hope you understand and how to overcome the hindrances now, and you can continue practice meditation for the spiritual growth and development of your mind. With this, I end for tonight's talk, and may you be happy, peaceful. May the Buddha bless you. In a few minutes' time, we will have a chanting. You're most welcome to join with us for the chanting and guided meditation. Until then, thank you, and may you be blessed. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Sadhu, sadhu.